commentary box with some audio level for you. This is the kind of level that I'll be speaking at, and I'm assuming that we're going live at 5 past the hour. Certainly, this is Mark in the commentary box, just checking level for audio on commentary of TCR Europe 2020, race 1 at Monza. How's that? Perfetto, thank you, grazie. Welcome to a warm, sunny Saturday afternoon in northern Italy. We're at Monza, the temple of speed for rounds 5 and 6 of the 2020 TCR Europe season this weekend. And once again, it's Mark James in the commentary box for this Saturday race. And then race 2, round 6 of the series at lunchtime tomorrow. We're a little, I think, earlier than we'd originally planned for this first race. Slightly later tomorrow, about 10 minutes later than planned if you were going to set your alarms. But there you can see air temperature 18 degrees. I think we're the last race of the afternoon here today. And then tomorrow at lunchtime it should be a little warmer. Very different to the day that we had yesterday. In free practice 1, only a couple of laps able to be carried out in dry conditions, damp conditions really. And then the heavens opened. We had flashes of lightning, rumbles of thunder in the background. And everybody dived into the pits for wets. And at the end, the red flag came out. Evgeny Leonov in the Cupra going off at the second chicane here and bringing proceedings to an end. Free practice 2, a little more to everybody's liking. Drier conditions, and then qualifying today threw up a few surprises. Initially 25 cars on the entry lists, you may have seen back in the week. That was reduced to 24 with the news that Florian Brichet not able to be here this weekend because of clashes, and we've also lost another 2 cars today, unfortunately. Jean-Laurent Navarro, an engine problem in the JSB Competition Peugeot 308, and so Navarro missing today. Fingers crossed he'll be in the second race this weekend. But also news that Andreas Beckmann is withdrawn for this first race. You may remember a fortnight ago at Zolder, he had quite a heavy shunt, in fact 2 heavy shunts, one in both races, and he's wearing a wrist brace this weekend, a weakness, a discomfort in his left wrist, and he came in after qualifying and said, I'm sorry, this is just too uncomfortable for me. So unfortunately no Andreas Beckmann this weekend, but lots more to tell you besides. We've already seen our pole sitter, Mehdi Binani. We'll talk about him in a moment on the green flag lap. It's championship leader Dan Lloyd alongside him on the grid, then 2 Peugeots. What can this man do? P4 on the grid, Julien Brichet was on pole here the last time TCR Europe was in Monza, almost exactly a year ago. Then it was the last round of the 2019 series. Brichet started from pole, won race 1, and then race 2, carved his way through the field, finished P2, but couldn't do anything to deny Josh Files the title. But that suggests that the Peugeots do like it here at Monza, because as well as Julien Brichet, we had Aurélien Comte second on the grid for the Monza race last year. The Audis were always expected to be strong here, and so no surprise, Mehdi Binani quickest in that rain-affected FP1 yesterday. It was Julien Brichet quickest in FP2, and then Binani quickest in qualifying this morning. Matto Homola is the best of the Hyundais, P6 on the grid. We didn't see Jimmy Claret, we saw him, we didn't talk about him. P3 on the grid, there's his brother Teddy. P7, 4th row of the grid, Nicolas Bartz in the second of the Come To You Audis, alongside Teddy Claret on the grid in row 4. There is Nicolas, winner of the first race on his home track in Zolder a fortnight ago. It's difficult to think, it's only 5 weeks since we started the series at Le Castellet in the south of France. A 3-week gap until Zolder, and then it's a race every other weekend to cram in all the rounds, all 12 races of this shortened, compacted TCR Europe series. There is Mike Halder, winner of race 2 in Le Castellet, with his sister Michelle winning last time out in Zolder, winning race 2, becoming the first lady driver to win a round of TCR Europe. So both the Halders already having been on the top step of the podium. What can the Audis do this weekend? What can the Peugeots do this weekend? It promises to be 2 fascinating races. The guys there from Brutal Fish will be cheering on Dan Lloyd, our championship leader. The guys from Target Competition, a little more subdued, their banner being waved for them by John Filippi, but there is the grid. Mehdi Binani starting on pole alongside Dan Lloyd, Jimmy Claret and Julien Brichet, Pepe Oriola and Matto Homola row 3. Row 4 is Teddy Claret and Nicolas Bartz. as they set off on their green flag lap. Row 5, Mike Halder, John Filippi, Danny Nage and Felice Jelmini, a regular from the TCR Italy series, Jessica Beckman and Michelle Halder, the two ladies alongside each other. Victor Davidovski, I'm pleased to say, has finally made it out of Macedonia. Davidovski alongside Martin Rieber, Stefan Montaja alongside Colombani. Then it's Sami Taufik. Luca Rangoni. Fingers crossed we can take a look at that car. It's the newest TCR car making its debut here in Monza. The Technodom team having developed the car. There it is weaving towards the back of the grid. Car 64, the Fiat Tipo TCR with Luca Rangoni at the helm. And in fact, it's not the first time that Luca Rangoni has debuted a TCR car, a brand new car, because Luca Rangoni gave the Subaru TCR car its debut all the way back in 2015 when he competed in Singapore. The car developed by Technodom very much as a privateer project, or a non-factory supported project, if I can put it that way. And the team running two cars there. You see just behind the Fiat, the Audi RS3 LMS of the team's sister car, Kevin Giacon, and again TCR Italy and Italy Touring Car Series stalwart. So Giacon starting from 21st on the grid, Rangoni from 20th, and then right at the back of the field is Evgeny Leonov in the Cupra. I mentioned him earlier. He went off in FP1, bringing out the red flags. And then, in theory, behind Leonov was Navarro, but he didn't take part in qualifying because of that engine issue. So, fingers crossed, we may see him tomorrow. So, of the 24 cars that arrived here, we have 22 on the grid as we check out the drivers' points positions. And coming here, Dan Lloyd had an advantage of 9 points over Mike Halder. That's now stretched to 16 points. And Dan Lloyd, extremely consistent in the way that he's been scoring so far. One in race 1 in Le Castellet, then P6, and then P5 in the first race in Zolder, P2 in the second race. Mike Halder, P10 in Le Castellet race 1, one race 2, and then P2 and P4 at Zolder. So both very consistent, but of course this year the rule changes mean that there are points from 10 to 1 for the first 10 in qualifying, and Dan does seem to be playing that game a little better than Mike so far. There is Michelle Halder, just exiting the bottom of your screen in the yellow highlights of the Profi car team Halder Honda. There is Rangoni again in the Fiat, with Giacon behind him in the Audi. So in terms of car brands, we're up to 6. 4 Audis, 1 Cupra, 1 Fiat, 6 Hondas, 6 Hyundais and 6 Peugeots. Actually, I can knock a Hyundai and a Peugeot off that list. 5 Hyundais and 5 Peugeots. And 12 countries represented on the grid here in Monza this weekend. So, Mehdi Benani, the extremely experienced Moroccan driver. Surprisingly, perhaps, this is only his second touring car pole position. He was on pole in a Citroen in WTCC in about 2016, but very, very happy to be on pole. We knew the Audis would be quick here. He was quite cautious when I spoke to him yesterday, saying we never know about these things until we actually see what's happening in on the timesheets. Jean-Michel Bart there in the black gilet, not the man waving. So, moments away then from round 5 of the 2020 TCR Europe season. Green flag waves. Watch Mehdi Benani on the right of your screen. The revs rise, the lights go on. They go out and we are racing. A good start, I think, from Dan Lloyd. This drag down to the first chicane, which usually causes issues here at Monza. And Dan Lloyd, indeed, I think, has got the line. Dan Lloyd has nosed in front of Mehdi Benani, and it's Lloyd who leads through the first chicane. As we watch for incidents, anybody cutting the chicane? That was Jessica Beckman, I think. Yes, there's Jess, 26 in the target competition Hyundai. And everybody through the first chicane safely the first time. Jimmy Claret still up with them, though, as they come down towards the second chicane. Variante della Roggia. And look at that, Benani right up behind Dan Lloyd, and also with them is Claret. Lloyd then from Benani, defending already after that terrific start from the Brutal Fish Honda. Lloyd from Benani, then Jimmy Claret, and Benani runs wide through the grass and drops way back down the pack, does Benani, and there is contact. That is Jimmy Claret in the 21 Peugeot, and contact coming out of the chicane. Yellow flags at turn 7, so coming out of the Lesmo corner, so I think contact going into the first Lesmo. And I'm waiting to see if a safety car will be deployed as one of the... There is Benani in the Come To You Audi, way offline. And is he going to try and nurse it back to the pits? Will we get a safety car here in the first Monza race? And indeed, Julien Brichet already up behind Dan Lloyd. I was saying that the Peugeot should do well here. So drama then on the opening lap of this race. 10-lap race with potentially 2 extra if we need them under the safety car. Julien Brichet just takes a little look at the outside of Dan Lloyd, but the British driver has the line for the chicane. Double yellows now at the 2 Lesmo corners. Through the chicane for the second time. Julien Brichet right up behind Dan Lloyd. Nothing between the pair. And Brichet powers past the Audi, the Honda, or does he? No, indeed, Lloyd has the line, but Brichet millimetres off the rear bumper of the Honda, and Brichet now trying to out-drag the Civic down to the first right-hander at Lesmo, and he's done it. The lead changes hands. Julien Brichet doing what he needed to do. He has to win to get his championship battle on track. Now, did he get that overtaking move done before Lesmo? Because the double yellow start at the first of the 2 Lesmo corners, and the incident between Claret and Benani is under investigation. No surprise there. And green again, so the Peugeot having been recovered. Through Ascari, down this long back straight now, down towards the Parabolica. As Julien Brichet weaves to try and deny Dan Lloyd the slipstream. Behind the cars all tuck into line. Brichet from Lloyd, from Teddy Claret now up into 3rd. 4th is Oriola. John Filippi scrapping with Mike Halder. That's the battle for 7th. And just behind them is Felice Elmini in the 44 car, that turquoise Hyundai, tucked right up behind John Filippi and getting a tow down the start-finish straight. 3-way scrap then for 7th place. And has Claret got the legs, or has Oriola got around the outside? I think he has. Pepe Oriola in the 2nd of the Brutal Fish Hondas, I think has moved up into 3rd. Indeed he has, he's got the line. And so Pepe Oriola, having got side by side with Teddy Claret, let's see what happens as they go into the 2nd chicane. In theory, the Peugeot has the line, and indeed he does. So that scrap going back the way of the Peugeot. Oriola sensibly giving way. So our race leader then is Julien Brichet, then Dan Lloyd, Teddy Claret, Pepe Oriola, then Nicolas Bart, Mato Homola, Mike Halder, Yelmini, Naj, Filippi, and then behind the top 10, Martin Rieber, Gilles Colombani. As we look again at the start, Dan Lloyd getting a terrific start, getting the jump on Mehdi Benani in that drag down to the first chicane. And just tucking in front, just locking up the brakes ever so slightly into the chicane, but Dan Lloyd doing what he needed to do. Will we see this incident? In the... no, it was Jimmy who just jinked offline and took out Mehdi Benani. So I don't know what happened then. You can immediately see front left-hand wheel jammed under the wheel arch of the Claret Peugeot. And that's the result, off into the gravel. So that then was the incident, and Dan Lloyd getting it all sideways at Ascari. And there is Mehdi Benani dragging that Audi back to the pits. Meanwhile, we're on lap 4. Julien Brichet having opened up a lead of nearly 6/10 over Dan Lloyd as the battle for third still goes on. There's contact between the pair. Contact between Claret and Oriola while scrapping for third. Which means Nicolas Bart, there he is, has moved up into third. Hommler now fourth. Teddy Claret has dropped to fifth. Yelmini sixth. Mike Halder seventh. Then Naj 8th, Filippi 9th, Pepe Oriola's down in 10th because of that incident. How things change. There is Hommler in the number 70 car. And Hommeler's got past Bart for third, so a Hyundai in the podium positions. Meanwhile, Julien Brichet cannot shake off Dan Lloyd. Lloyd, remember, was carrying 60 kilos of ballast in Zolder. Not so heavy here in Monza. Naj running wide. Filippi thumped on the duo, head down towards the... And in fact, Filippi has just got past Yelmini in the run down to the chicane. So let's recap then. Julien Brichet and Dan Lloyd still 0.4 of a second, nothing separating the leading pair. As this was the... Now, I don't know if there was contact. That was definitely contact between Bart and Hommler. And that was definitely contact between Bart again and Teddy Claret. Although not having the best of it. So already out. Lap 6, not finished. So Mike Halder still 4th, Bart still 5th. There then goes Naj, then Filippi, then Yelmini behind, and behind Yelmini is Claret. So that's the little train from Hommler. There he goes in 3rd. 4th is Halder, 5th is Bart in the Audi. As Filippi takes to the curbs, and I don't think Naj was too pleased with that. Then Yelmini, then Claret, Tofik behind them in 10th. Jessica Beckman now 11th. Michel Halder 12th. Davidovski 13th. Colombani 14th. And Stefan Vontager in the final of the point-scoring positions. Luca Rangoni in the Fiat Tipo still running in 17th, just ahead of Kevin Jacon. Mike Halder holding his own in 4th. But that scrap, Filippi and Yelmini for 7th, thumping across the curbs at Ascari. And tucked up behind Yelmini is Claret, who's way out of shape, and sideways into the barriers at the Parabolica. So a miserable day for the Claret team. Let's just have a look at this. A slight tap, the slightest of contact. Yelmini just jinxing slightly sideways after a tap from Claret, but Claret coming off by far the worst and ending up in the barriers. So both Jimmy and Teddy out in the first half of this race. It's still, however, a Peugeot that leads this race. Julien Brichet now nearly 1.4 seconds clear of Dan Lloyd at the head of the field. Matto Homola still hangs on to third. There is Lloyd, there is Homola. Just behind Homola is Mike Halder. And a slight gap back to Nicolas Bart, Danny Nage, Filippi Jelmini, Taufik, there he goes. Jessica Beckman has got Michelle Halder right behind. And there is the solitary Cupra of Leonov. Getting it seriously untidy and through the gravel coming out of the chicane. So as you were, John Filippi just giving himself the slightest room to breathe, but he's got Jelmini right behind him. And indeed, Homola has got Mike Halder breathing down his neck as they break for the Parabolica. Quickest lap of the race so far, surprise, surprise, is Julien Brichet. That the Peugeots would be quick after last year. We knew that the Audis would be quick. But indeed, we've a Peugeot leading a Honda, leading a Hyundai, with a Honda in fourth, an Audi in fifth. As Matto Homola and Mike Halder side by side going through the chicane, and the contact between the pair. Mike Halder thumps into Matto Homola, but the pair continue through turn 3, Curva Grande. Or if you're a traditionalist, Curva Biassono, which is named after the village nearby. Mike Halder has the line for the left-hander at the chicane. Heavily on the brakes, slightly squirreling under braking, and contact again between the pair. This time, oh, look at the damage to Homola's car. Homola pulls up on the left-hand side of the road. Contact for a second time between the pair, and will the stewards call them in afterwards for a chat? So that shakes things up. Let's look at the first contact as they go through the chicane. Homola tapped sideways, seeing it from another angle in the shadows. And then hopefully we can see the second and more terminal contact. And Halder all out of shape. And as he's coming back on, Homola had the line. And Halder continuing, unlike Matto Homola. That's at turn 4. So coming out of the second chicane, Matto Homola. Look at the damage to the BRC Hyundai. Huge frustration for Matto, finished on the podium last time out in Zolder and was hoping that his championship battle, his hopes for the title were now on track, as Danny Nage did, and indeed Mike Halder unable to continue. I thought he'd continued to the end of the lap. As we see now this battle for third, for the final podium position. Nicolas Bart currently third, then John Filippi, then Jelmini, then Nage. And just behind Nage is Sami Taufik. So third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh currently, that little train of cars. And surprisingly enough, the incidents involving 7 and 70 under investigation. So the Mike Halder, Matto Homola situation will be looked at by the stewards. "16 cars then still running. Julien Brichet now a huge advantage, comparatively speaking, 2.5 seconds over Dan Lloyd. We're on lap 9 of 10, and this is the scrap going on for the final podium spot. Nicolas Bart in the Come To You Audi, currently third, holding off John Filippi in the first of the Hyundais, the target competition car. behind the pair, Felice Jelmini, there he is in that turquoise Hyundai, currently 5th. Danny Naj, another Hyundai BRC, is 6th. Then Sami Taufik in another of the Conti Audis, 7th. Then a gap until Michel Halder, you see her there at the back of the screen, having passed Jessica Beckman. Michelle currently P8, Jessica P9. Davidovski is 10th in the PSS Racing Honda, ahead of Vontaja, Colombani, Leonov. Rangoni is in the points, or rather would be, if the car was running to its full homologation. It's here under a temporary homologation, so it's effectively invisible in terms of the points. But Rangoni currently 14, Giacon 15th. Hard on the brakes for this final time into the chicane as Jelmini, passes Filippi. And Taufik, having passed Naj. All change at the start of this final lap then in this scrap going on between these 5 cars. Nicolas Bart still in 3rd place in the Come To You Audi as Danny Naj thumps over the curb. And Taufik says, I'll have that, thank you. Taufik passing Naj then for 6th. Naj dropping to 7th. And Jelmini also passing Filippi for P4. Over 4 seconds now. We haven't seen our leader for several laps, but take my word for it, Julien Brichet still leads by over 4 seconds from Dan Lloyd. Then there's a yawning gap of nearly 9 seconds back to this scrap. Nicolas Bart, the number 8 Audi, currently 3rd. Then Jelmini in the 44 Hyundai, 5th. Just behind is Filippi, who will be determined to give it his all on this final lap, flashing his lights furiously as they come down to Ascari for the final time. Thumping over the curbs. They're all safely through. Bart in 3rd, Jelmini 4th, Filippi 5th, Taufik 6th, Naj 7th. And then a gap back because Jessica Beckman's got past Michel Halder again in the Battle of the Ladies back in 8th. As around through the Parabolica for the final time comes our race leader and indeed race winner, Julien Brichet, finally takes his first win of the season, and that will be a huge sigh of relief for the Frenchman. Lloyd is 2nd, Bart is 3rd, Jelmini 4th, Filippi 5th, Taufik 6th, then Naj. Jessica Beckman holds off Michel Halder for 8th. Davidovski is 10th, Vontaja 11th, Colombani 12th, Leonov 13th. And then we're looking to see whether the Tipo has hung on to 14th on its TCR Racing debut. Yes, it has. Luca Rangoni bringing the Tipo home in 14th. Kevin Giacon is 15th. Indeed he is. And I think our only other finisher potentially is Martin Rieber, with Mike Halder, Mato Homola, Teddy Claret, Pepe Oriola, Mehdi Benani and Jimmy Claret are non-finishers. Yes, confirmation that Martin Rieber has finished. So Rieber finishing just outside the points. Phew. That was a little more lively. And I have to say the late afternoon shadows not making it hugely easy sometimes to see what was going on, particularly at that first chicane. But Dan Lloyd will be happy enough with 2nd place. That consistency I was talking about earlier is paying off for Dan. Points ultimately mean prizes, and just the 1 race win so far for Dan Lloyd, but yet another podium finish. Nicolas Bart will be happy enough also, I suspect, with 3rd, but far, far less happy will be Mike Halder. DNF for him, DNF for Homola, and a disappointing afternoon for both the Claret brothers, Teddy and Jimmy. The potential was there, as we saw from Julien Brichet, for the Peugeots to do well here at Monza, but not to be this afternoon. Tomorrow lunchtime at 1 o'clock local time, we have race 2. John Filippi will be on pole with Mike Halder alongside him. So that'll be an interesting battle. Can Mike repeat his race 2 win from Le Castellet? And what will Brichet do? Remember when we were here last October, Brichet started from P10 in race 2, carved his way through the field steadily to finish in P2. And that's not an impossibility tomorrow. We've just seen how much Julien Brichet likes this circuit, starting from P4 on the grid and dispatching Dan Lloyd almost with ease. Dan Lloyd didn't make it particularly easy for him, but then a winning margin of 3.2 seconds in the end for Julien Brichet to finally take maximum race points. Picking up the rubbish around the circuit on his way back. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, this compact calendar of necessity will reach its halfway point tomorrow with round 6 of 12. And then following tomorrow's race, a 2-week break before Barcelona. 2 weeks after that, we're at Spa, back in Belgium once again. And finally, at the beginning of November, we end the year in Jarama in Spain. And 12 races, 6 race weekends packed into something like 13 weeks. So it was ambitious, but it looks to be happening. And I think everybody else is in the same position. Because of the enforced delays to seasons getting underway and circuit bookings and everything else, everyone packing their seasons in. And TCR Russia, I know, we did the latest Inside the World of TCR video magazine last week, and TCR Russia up against it to get their season finished before the winter sets in. They have just their 1 race meeting left at Fort Grozny. But in TCR Europe here in Monza, it is that man, Julien Brichet, who is victorious with Dan Lloyd, who will be happy enough. Yep, job done, says Dan.
Thank you.
And a big smile too for Julien as he climbs out of the car. And I spoke to Julien yesterday, and before you ask, no, his English hasn't improved, so Annette Cuvari is down in the pit lane. She will ask the questions in English and get the answers in French. Congratulations from Jean-Michel Marc and from Dan Lloyd. Fist bumps all round. On goes the mask. I suspect somebody will have a very nice TCR Europe first place mask for him very shortly. And there is Nicolas Bart getting the congratulations of his dad and from the team. Following up the win in Zolder with 3rd place now in Monza. And Nicolas, still very much a rookie in touring cars, very much a rookie in the team, but delighted with those 2 positions. Let's get confirmation, though, of the result of this first race in Monza. Julien Brichet winning from Dan Lloyd and Nicolas Bart, and then Yelmini 4th, Filippi 5th, Taufik 6th, Danny Nage 7th, Jessica Beckman 8th, Michel Halden 9th, and Victor Davidovsky 10th. Behind our top 10 is Stefan Fontaja, Colombani, Leonov, Rangoni in the Fiat, and Kevin Giacon with Martin Rieber, the only finisher, behind the top 15. And then that string of DNFs: Mike Halder, Mato Homola, Teddy Claret, Pepe Oriola, Mehdi Benani, and Jimmy Claret. Okay, let's head down then to the pit lane, and Annette Cuvari is with our race winner, Julien Brichet.
First big victory for you, Julien, this season in TCR Europe. Are you happy?
Oui, oui, vraiment, vraiment, vraiment très, très content. On sort d'une période vraiment très, très compliquée, très, très dure, très galère. On arrive à gagner enfin. Pour l'instant, on n'a pas de points au championnat, donc voilà, on sait que le championnat c'est terminé, donc il faut qu'on fasse des coups d'éclat, il faut qu'on gagne des courses. Vraiment content pour tout le monde, pour l'équipe, tout le monde.
First victory for you this season here in Monza, but not the first in ever. Do you like this track?
Ouais, c'est ma première victoire cette année. Voilà, on va essayer de faire d'autres.
Thank you, merci, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, my limited French suggests that he is very happy, but also that he is relieved that obviously the season didn't begin that well for them. They have to concentrate on the championship, he was saying in that first answer, and so happy that the championship is underway. So then, let's relive some of the highlights of this first race, round 5 of TCR Europe here at Monza. And looking back at those incidents, you have to say that the two incidents involving Mike Halder and Matteo Homola look, from the angles we saw, as racing incidents, because in the first chicane, really Mike didn't have anywhere to go but into the side of Matteo Homola. And I'm sure that Matteo Homola fans are now shouting at their computers. But equally, going into the second chicane, Mike was out of shape going in, looked as though he was about to outbrake himself, and it was coming back on when Matteo had already got past the Honda. So it'll be interesting to see what the stewards have to say a little bit later on. I'm sure both drivers will be invited to give their views of the incident. But also, the other thing that struck me looking through that montage was that when Teddy Claret went off at the entrance to the Parabolica, he had the presence of mind to throw the car sideways, so at least he went into the barriers side on, and so avoided a head-on collision with the barriers, if you like, which would have been far more damaging for him. As we're looking at our drivers about to come out onto the podium, as they just take a breather, have a glass of water, and pop their face masks on. It's Dan Lloyd's dad on the right of the screen. Okay, so the podium ceremony then for this first TCR Europe race of the weekend. Making their way out onto the famous Monza podium. And the changed formalities this year, no presentations, the champagne and the trophies already there for the drivers to collect. And first out is Nicolas Bart, then Dan Lloyd, second step at the podium. But the applause, the loudest of all, will be for our race winner, the 5th different winner from 5 races, Julien Brichet. And there'll be a representative from JSB Competition to collect the trophy for the winning team before we hear the French national anthem to honour our winning driver. And I mentioned in Zolder that the Yokohama Trophy is being split into two this year for best rookie and best, how can I put this, older driver, mature driver, over 40. And that's why I think it's Victor Davidovsky on the right of your screen that picked up the mature driver, the Diamond Trophy, as they're calling it. And it's Nicolas Bart who will take the points for the Yokohama Trophy for rookies. As Dan Lloyd celebrates, holding his champagne and his trophy up. Confirmation then that Dan Lloyd has extended his lead over Mike Halden out to 51 points. Nicolas Bart, though, has moved into third, overtaking Mehdi Benani, who sticks at 110 points. John Filippi moves up into fifth. Michel Halder moves up into seventh. Dropping down are Danny Nage, Matteo Homola and Teddy Claret after this first race in Monza. Sami Taoufik moves up, as does Julian Brichet, now 115 points behind Dan Lloyd. So that was race 1 here in Monza. We do it all again tomorrow for race 2, which begins at 1 o'clock local time. Fingers crossed we'll have the pleasure of your company then. Goodbye.